Hey, welcome to Pat's Soundbites IGTV. Keeping new music alive is what I do on the radio and now on video. Conducting live chats with the artists and learning the stories behind their latest release and also playing their new video. Special thanks today to my sponsor Go-Go Tuners for all guitar players looking for a focus on ease of use, readability, durability, and accuracy. Look no further. The Go-Go Tuner is the choice of many touring professionals and a favorite of casual players. Go-Go's signature green you're in and red you're out screen makes tuning quick and easy. For more information, go to the website at gogotuners.com. Special thanks to WBXO Classic Rock Radio Redefined, allowing me to keep new music alive on the radio airways on the Pat Show every Sunday from 5 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Only on WBXO Classic Rock Redefined. And a big thank you to Mr. Evan Balzer for allowing me to use his amazing instrumental that you're hearing right now. It's called Trails. To find out more incredible music by Evan, go to his website at evanbalzer.com. And my special guest today, well, he needs really no introduction. You and I, many know him as the bass player for not one band, but two great bands. How about Yes and Asia? I'm talking Mr. Billy Sherwood. But did you know he's also an incredible record producer and accomplished recording engineer and mixer? He does it all, and you could add a new progressive rock band under his title. As a founding member, it's called Arc of Life, and they will be releasing their self-entitled debut album on Frontier Music label on February the 12th. We're going to talk to Billy about this amazing album, this incredible all-star lineup. We're going to play the video for You Make It Real, where Billy is on lead vocals. It's a fun chat. Even his mom calls in. All right here on Pat's Soundbites IGTV. Hey, live on Pat's Soundbites IGTV. Keeping new music alive on the radio and on video. And man, what an honor it is to have this cat in the house. I mean, producer, engineer, mixer, Carmine Apiece. I talked to before and said, tell Billy I said hello. Billy engineered a bunch of Carmine's Guitar Zeus. I'm talking Asia. I'm talking Yes. I'm talking the wonderful, the incredible Billy Sherwood in the house. Billy, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I am. I can't get the smile off my face when I heard of this concept and the opportunity to actually speak with you, man. This is awesome. Billy's got another project, not that he's like got time to do things, but a great super group, progressive rock super group, I should say, with an incredible lineup called Arc of Life. The debut album comes out on Friday, February 12th on Frontier Music label. Before I jump into all of that, because I love every bit of it, how you making out, pal, with this whole COVID virus lockdown driving?
It's driving me nuts. If it wasn't for the VR, the Quest 2 that I bought, I'd be losing my mind. You know, it is what it is, man, and hopefully we get over this and get out of this storm and back on the road, you know?
Yeah, man, we want you back. I got the pleasure to see you right there. I was fifth row, courtesy of the management team you had there with Asia and Yes, and Carl Palmer and John Lodge at Bethel Woods up here in Woodstock, and you were right in front of me, and you rocked it double duty that night, man. That was
yes, that's right. Yeah, that was a long show.
So
for like 3.5 hours every night. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So Arc of Life, I mean, you know, when I've listened to the album 3 or 4 times and it brought me back to Conspiracy, I gotta say. I mean, I felt this Chris Squire, Billy Sherwood vibe, Days of Wonder, Love Conquers All. And I mean, I don't know. We already threw in, I'm the program director. We already made You Make It Real on our rotation. So New York is loving it. We're getting great feedback for you. But the tracks are killer. So tell me when you started this concept, this idea, where you came up with the name and grabbing this super group of John and Dave and Jimmy. Oh my God!
Jimmy. Well, it started really in the back of a tour bus in 2017. John and I shared a tour bus on the Yes Tour, and we had a studio in the back and doing some writing, and just one thing leads to another. And before you know it, we had several songs developing. And it was kind of at that point that we sort of knew this is not heading for Yes, it's not heading anywhere but its own thing. So maybe we should develop this into a band. And it was at that point that we started reaching out, and Jay was the obvious choice. And Jimmy Hahn, who's played with me before and is a fantastic player and a totally cool dude. And Dave Kersner, who has his own solo career and is in the prog lane very deeply. Everyone knows about him. So it just seemed like the right fit right now. And that is the band. It took from 2017 to 2019 to make the record because we were really busy with Yes things at the time. And but we did manage to get a lot of the vocals done in the back of the bus. And, then on a break, John was here in LA. We went to his house and recorded the rest of the vocals. I went to the studio with Jay and recorded drums and got him all sorted out. And then the other two guys kind of file shared because Jimmy lives in Utah and Kersner's in Florida. Okay. So we just kind of went back and forth and until we all, felt comfortable about where we were with the tracks. And then we arrived at the end here.
I mean, Arc of Life. I love the artwork. Is that a Roger Dean? Did you talk to Roger about that? Beautiful job.
Yeah, it's from their camp. Okay. Of that feeling, but it doesn't. I wanted to make sure it didn't look like a Yes cover.
Right.
But, I had an idea for the cover, which I sketched out myself on hand and took a picture and sent it in. I just had this vision of I guess it's the COVID thing, but a guy sitting in a cave looking out at the most pristine world and just wanting to get out there. And that's kind of what the idea I put in their heads, and that's what they came back with. And they nailed it. I want to be where that is.
you would be both with a drink in my hand. I mean, looking at when I saw the tracks, talking with Surrey, Lockdown, I go, okay, yeah. And you probably wrote them before, obviously, this even occurred.
Way before, yeah. All the lyrics were done way before COVID, but it just so happens to work out as a soundtrack to what we're doing right now quite well. It's crazy.
I really love the flow of the album. Let me ask you this, Billy. progressive rock is certainly a little bit different when it comes to songwriting. I'm not a musician, but the time changes, the time signature, in different times of the song compared to a basic song. How does it all start? I mean, from a producer end, from a songwriter end, to put a great song, like You Make It Real or Life Has a Way, and it goes all over the place. And I know you can overdo it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that you got to find a way to stop and go, we got it. Because if you massage too much, then you lose what you really were thinking.
It's like overworking the dough.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Bad pizza.
Bad pizza. Well, progressive rock is a genre that I love mostly because there are no rules and you can explore wherever you want to go. And that includes not only lengthy songs, because a lot of people, they relate prog to how long the track is. Unless it's 14 minutes, it's not prog. I don't really subscribe to that. I feel like a song is going to be the length that it's feeling like it needs to be. So in certain instances, things are shorter. Like, for instance, you mentioned You Make It Real. It's kind of a shorter, concise song. But inside of that are these tricky little arrangements that when they're all put together, they equal a simplicity in their complexity of how they're put together. And it's a strange thing, but that's what I try to do with how I do what I do. And is to make things accessible to the ear for the average guy who's just wanting to listen to music and hear a groove. But underneath there, if they listen more and more, they go, wait a minute, I never realized how the bass does this while the guitar does that and the drums go over here. And so it's a conscious effort to create those things to happen without getting in the way of the song and letting the song speak. And then knowing when, as you said, when it's cooked, you know what I mean? And that's a big part of it, is to be able to step away from the vehicle and just kind of let it be,
I love to crank the headset on and really close my eyes where I can hear each instrument. I mean, like Lockdown, you had a great bass riff. It was like all of a sudden there's a time change and it's like you jump on it, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh yeah, I could just dig it. Or there are times where you hear, I want to say Dave on the keys, like you could really pick it up. It's really, and I enjoy stuff like that. Yeah, it's not about, I think we all got spoiled with Yes, and when Roundabout came out, it's like, oh my God, it's, how long it is. When DJs were, you couldn't, back in the 60s and 70s, anything over 3 minutes, and they wouldn't even play the song. And now,
I mean, but for me, one of my favorite Yes albums is Tales, which is just 4 songs, 23 minutes long, or however long they are. So I'm into that long thing too, but I also don't want to, I mean, it's like seeing a film that's, just works better when it's cut at 2 hours and 15 minutes than 2 hours and 30.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's a hard thing to make that call. There's a bit of a je ne sais quoi that comes in there, but I've been doing this long enough to know when something's feeling like that's just going on too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or not long enough, it needs to be expanded. So it's just experimental and artistic creation at that point,
No, I think it's great. And everybody thinks of you. I mean, they don't, no, I don't want to say not everybody, but without doing your homework, you the producer, you the engineer. Like I said, I talked to Carmine earlier today. He says to say hello. He's like, oh my God, yeah, Billy engineered my stuff. But we all know you as a killer bass player. But man, when like I said, brought me back to Conspiracy. To hear you sing, dude, we need more of that, because everybody, the reviews that I got was, man, it's great to hear Billy sing. And then you got John, who's a great singer, and between the both of you, I'm like, wow, this is over the charts. This is really cool.
It's sort of, excuse me, it sort of reminds me of, like, those bands that we've all loved, like, Supertramp. Shit, you there?
Yeah, keep going. You're good. Oh, there you go.
Sorry, it's my mother. What am I going to do? She's calling. I just had to decline my mother for you. I just want you to know that.
Sorry, Mom.
There's a price to pay coming for you, I'm sure.
Oh no. You were saying like Supertramp with this different singers in the band.
That's what it was. Yes, yeah. Those bands where there's 2 singers and they play off each other, and it makes the track just go here or go there, and so that was a big part of the attraction for John and I when we first started talking about, like, writing songs. How cool it would be to, you do this, I do that, and then we come together, or there's counterpoints and there are canons. And so to have a great voice like that as your wingman, it really opens up the creativity quite a bit to do some great things.
What makes a good mix, Billy? And what got you into the whole producing and engineering? Was it all these days that you go, wait a minute, I can never hear me. I can never hear the bass. I'm going into the control room to crank this up. I want to get more involved. What am I missing here? What makes a good mix, Billy?
I remember the Logic album, the first record.
Yep.
And working really hard on that record. I mean, for 7 years to get into the studio, and then now we're in and we're making the record. It's produced by the guys in Toto, and it's sounding great, and I'm excited about it. And it comes time to mix the record, and I go to open the control room and it's locked. I'm like, why is the door locked? What's going on? And we weren't allowed in the room because we were 5 opinionated young, guys that were just going to come in there and say, I'm not loud enough,
Right.
And it was soon after that process I realized, wow, you know what? I need to produce because then I can get in the freaking studio
Yeah.
because the mixing is such an important part of the whole thing. And I knew that back then, but obviously I have my faith that Greg Ladani, Picaro, and Page knew what they were doing, and they did. So we were in good hands. But, you know, I've actually recently been doing sessions with Page, doing some vocal things, and we've been laughing about that because I said to him, you know, I tell everyone in interviews the reason I'm a producer is because you wouldn't let me in the damn group.
That is a great story. I love it.
So yeah, that's kind of when I realized I need to be producing, and for me personally, to get my own musical vision together, I need to figure out this craft of engineering too, because that's such a key component. Sound is, you know, engineering has become another instrument for me, and I can really kind of get to the point of things faster when I got my hands on the knobs, as opposed to talking my way through something with another engineer. You know what I mean?
Do you find yourself?
Like you kind of sit there after a while. You're like, the bass could use a little top end. Is that better? Well, you know, you could give me that thing.
I was going to say, do you find yourself grabbing your bass, going, "Here, this is what's missing"? I'll take care of it.
I find myself grabbing the EQ or compressor or whatever he's doing. So, but I haven't really worked with other engineers in so long. I forgot what it's like to have a second engineer. I'm just, you know, I'm by myself. So, but that process is key to making an album for me, is that engineering side of things. And, you know, I enjoy doing it. It's fun too. It's a challenge.
Oh my God. I mean, your resume, Robbie Krieger, Carmine, Quiet Riot, Motorhead, you got them all covered. I mean, it's like, obviously he's doing something right now. That was my question. Did you go to school? Did you just pull up, you know, Pro Tools and said, okay, I'm going to learn this?
Well, it was a lot of steps, looking over a lot of shoulders. And the first steps were making our first record and understanding the process from tip to tail. And then that knowledge is set in there. And then the second step is like, you know, taking Greg Ladani out for golf and picking his brain as you're handing him another joint. It's like, how do you do this? Oh, you go like this, you know. So I learned a lot from Greg in terms of engineering stuff too. And where we mixed our Logic album was the studio that George Massenburg built. George Massenburg created parametric EQ.
Wow.
So I was around a lot of extremely talented people in their field. And my mom's texting
Mom
me.
is not a happy camper, Billy.
She's pissed at you now. No, I'm joking. So I was lucky enough to be around a lot of talented people and picked up a lot of tricks along the way, you know.
I mentioned skill set. Besides having a good ear, I mean, is it hard to keep your influence, to learn what they're trying to get across and hold back some of your influence and not over project some of that?
No, because what I found is that if I held back at all, I'm not doing my job. Like, in other words, guys, that's not cool. This could be better. What drum part are you playing while he's playing that? Why don't you try doing this? Or, you know what I mean? If I'm not interjecting in a capacity that means anything, then there's no point to be there. So I always brought my opinion to the table. I think that's another part of being a producer, is you kind of have to have an opinion and stand by it and have conviction. And when it comes to these things musically, I do, you know, ask anyone. I'm very opinionated about these things.
Good for you.
And so that led me down that path further. But the thing that you learn is you have to respect what you're walking into as well. I mean, I wasn't going to do Motorhead and try to change who Motorhead is.
Right.
I just wanted to record it in a way that made sense to what I needed it to achieve and for them. And, you know, these things kind of find their natural way through as you develop a relationship with each band you're working with. You know,
I hear you. I got you. I touched upon the great late Chris Squire, and you obviously formed a wonderful friendship early on. How did you connect with Chris? Where did that all begin? Did he see you with World Trade, or
he heard demos of World Trade that were played to him by the guy who signed us to Polydor, which was Derek Shulman, okay, lead singer of Gentle Giant / at the time record company mogul executive. He signed World Trade. Long story short, Derek leaves Polydor and goes to Atco, where he's got Yes without John Anderson, because they were doing ABWH at the time on Arista. And Derek says to Chris, I've got the guy who could be your lead singer. You need to meet him. And we met and became fast friends as a result. The only trick was, like, everyone thought it was a great idea but me to replace John Anderson. So I didn't do it because I just knew that I wanted my own career path at the time, and that it would be career suicide if I did it, you know? And obviously my instincts were correct, because soon after that came the Union album where they were all put together and went out and toured. So, but I was quite happy to be in the back production mode. And then, you know, when I entered the band kind of the way I felt I needed to. I mean, I created a unique slot in that there was a second guitar player guy in Yes for years with Steve Howe. So that was my own little spot I created. I never imagined replacing Chris in a million years, but that's what he wanted, and he wants Yes to continue and to thrive, and I'm just trying to honor his wishes and carry the thing forward as the best I can, you know.
Oh my God, he was incredible! What a musician! I mean, he just a beast out there with the Rickenbacker, and I mean, what a big part of that band that I think a lot of people starting to realize, if they didn't already, when we lost Chris, of how important he played in the part of the Yes.
Those bass lines are timeless, and the compositions are what make them what they are. He was an incredibly gifted technician on the bass and had skills galore. But the thing that attracted me to his trip early on in life was how he composed the bass parts, the notes that he was choosing and where he was choosing them and why. And, you know, those are the things that I really dug about Chris's art, and dissected them ad nauseum with him. And got them down pretty good, to the point where he looked at me one day and said, I think you do me better than I do.
Watching you at the Royal Affair tour, I couldn't tell if you play with a pick or were you fingering. I mean,
I play with a pick for the most part, but if I'm playing a fretless bass, usually I'll play with my fingers, because, you know, that's the more proper thing to do, I think, with the fretless, because it just doesn't sound great with a pick, I don't think so.
Is it not? It's not that much of it. I mean, I'm not a musician. Was it a difficult challenge for you between Asia tracks and Yes tracks, playing that
two different mindsets of playing? You know, Chris is wandering all around the neighborhood, you know what I mean? Where Wetton was just laying it down. And so it's a different mindset of how to play a bass. But I was keyed into Wetton's trip very well, because I was a huge fan of Crimson, UK, Asia. So, you know, I was all over John's stuff and knew what was going on. And then I had the opportunity to get really close to him when we made Raised in Captivity, which was his solo album that I produced and co-wrote with him. And, you know, got into the inner circle of his being and really kind of zeroed in on his craft and figured it out at that point pretty closely. So it's just two completely different ways of playing. You know, it's kind of interesting. That's what I dug about the Royal Affair tour, because it was like, wow, for an hour or whatever it was, I get to go out there and play like this way. And then come back out and just completely go nuts the other way. Gates of delirium, you know what I mean? It doesn't get any crazier than that if you're a bass player, you know what I mean?
You know what floored me probably the most, as I mentioned, everybody thinks of you as a killer bass player. Everybody thinks of Bumblefoot as a crazy guitarist. He's up there singing Asia, Heat of the Moment. I'm like, where did these vocals come from?
He's got that voice too, that my voice, I think, is just a little higher in timbre too, where his is a little lower and darker, and it just slots right in perfectly. And, you know, he's an amazing musician, extremely gifted guitar player, which is ridiculous. Sings great, but, you know, he's a really good guy. You know, we hung out on the road and he was just a really down-to-earth cat, you know what I mean? So that part was really cool too.
I got to meet Ron one of my last shows last year in February, backstage after Sons of Apollo in New York City. And I said, dude, I don't know where you came up with the vocals. And he actually started singing. We taking pictures and he's singing Heat of the Moment. I go, you're killing it, man. You're killing it. Billy, I know my time is running out and Mom is going to drive you nuts. I feel bad for the next guy behind me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I got to warn him ahead of schedule.
I don't know. So before I let you go, what's the next one? What's the next single? I mean, You Make It Real, Just Inside is good. If you're asking for an outsider, I like either Life Has a Way or I Want to Know You Better.
I was thinking Siri just because it's such a trippy little tune.
It is. That is a cool one.
You know,
okay.
It's coming from such a different place that I'm hoping it's Siri, but we'll have to see what the label decides because, you know, they make these calls as they promote the record, and I have faith in that they know what they're doing. So, you know, so far so good.
Nah, they're all good. Billy, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have, and I hope to get you back. Well, we want to see you on the road, but get you back on a Zoom or a chat to continue. I got a million questions to ask you, man. You're an amazing cat, an amazing talent, man. And I can't thank you enough.
All right, man. Well, thank you for having me on the show, and thanks for, you know, helping get the word out about ARC and all the other good stuff. So,
time to rock some Billy Sherwood and ARC of Life. Time to rock a little You Make It Real right here on Pat's Soundbites IGTV.
See ya.
You make it real. You make me feel alive again. You make it real. You make me feel alive again. In the silence of the moment, words get in the way. No more time for wondering just when the storm clouds will be gathering. Lost in a river of tears, thinking never in a million years will the rain stop. You make it real. You make me feel alive again. You make it real. You make me feel alive again. In your eyes I see the future waiting to begin. No more time for wondering just when the storm clouds will be gathering. Lost in a river of tears, thinking never in a million years will the rain stop. You make it real. You make me feel alive again. You make it real. You make me feel alive again. You make it real.